Thanks for buying your Cuthub. I'm here today to show you how it all sets up. We've got 4 boxes because it's a Pro system. And we're setting up a Pro because you can break that down into the Contractor and then to the Carpenter as well. So we're really excited you bought it. We hope you like it as much as we do. We're going to go over a few tools you're going to need to set up your system. We've got a drill and an impact wrench. Technically you can do everything with a drill. I like to use both though when I'm tightening stuff down. I've got a T20 bit that is going to be used to unbox everything. I've got a 7/16 and a 1/2 inch wrench that you're going to need for tightening down your saws. I've also got a 1/2 inch and a 7/16 socket set up, a 1/4 inch drill bit, and a 5/16 metal drill bit. You're going to need a tape measure, a pencil, a marker, a 5/32 Allen wrench that's going to attach your table saw bolts to your leg later on. For mounting your miter saw and table saw kit, you're going to need a quick clamp that's going to help you tighten everything down. And last but not least, you're going to need a can of spray paint. Let's get to it. We're going to unpackage our very first workstation table. I've got my T20 bit and an impact wrench. As you open it, please pay attention to the ends. The end you want to open from has screws in it, and you're going to take them out and use them later to attach your 2x12s to your brackets. As you unpackage your system, you're going to notice one of your workstation tables has a set of pipes attached to it. These connection pipes are going to put your 2 workstation tables together, and that is where you're going to mount your miter saw kit to. We're going to set up our first workstation table. I like to hold it right in the center. You're going to open up one leg at a time, and as I open it up, you're going to notice some tension here. That is by design, so as we store and move it, the legs don't flop. So you're going to pull it towards your body a little bit, open, push that button in, and the leg clicks. Do the exact same thing with the other side. Clicks in, set it down on the ground. Makes it really easy when you set up those last 2 legs. There we go. We're going to connect our 2 workstation tables with these connection pipes that come in one of your boxes. There's going to be 2 push buttons, one on each end. Push one of the buttons in, and your very first pipe, let it slide to where it's out of the way. Your second pipe, you're going to notice, you're going to push the button in the same way, and you want it to engage in the very first hole. So you can pay attention. Now that the pipes are in, I've got 1 long and 1 short. I'm going to take the other workstation table and align it with this first hole. I'm going to pull them together till you hear those buttons snap out. Now it's real easy. You can pull the other one through. They're both engaged. You're ready to go. If you got a professional system, you're going to notice one of your workstation tables has a set of connection pipes and 4 of these black lever locks that we will explain at a later time. I'm going to take it out and set it up off to the side for now. We're going to dig into our components box. It's the small box that comes with your system. It's going to contain your stop, your bracket, your table saw mounting kit, all of that stuff depending on the system you got. The easiest way to get your components out of the box is to lift it up like so, and carefully tip it over onto the table like that. Once it's on the table, you can just grab opposing corners and lift it up slowly, and cardboard might kind of blow out, but that's all right. Once the box is off, you're going to want to take your components and just flip them back over, because that's the easiest way to unpackage it. We're going to look at what's inside based upon the system that you purchased. This one happens to be a professional. As we unpackage, we're going to go piece by piece of what you get in the professional system, as this is what we're showing right off the bat. We've got a Cuthub logo used to put on our side table brackets. Right below it, we have the table saw mounting plate. Once you've taken off the table saw mounting plate, we're going to go into the rest of the components. It's packaged nice and tight so things don't bounce around as it's shipping. As you get in, you're going to notice these side table brackets, and these are awesome for your side tables, 2x12s later on. For the Pro, you're going to have 6. The Contractor, you're going to have 4. And the Carpenter, you won't have any of these, and you'll wish you did. You're going to have 2 black bags. The smaller of the 2 is going to be your bump stop and some hardware. So we're just going to open that up and stick it to the side. There's your stop. A shim table for mounting your miter saw, and your hardware to mount your other saws wherever they need to go. The larger of the 2 black bags is for professional and contractor packages, and it's your table saw unit. I'm going to open that up real quick. Notice that it's all packaged tightly together too. Your sway brace and your 2 legs. We'll explain that later on. Your last item in the box is your miter saw mounting table. You're going to have these red rails that are going to connect to your center pipes. This will connect or clamp it down, and the top is where you're going to mount your miter saw. All right, we moved everything off the table so we can demonstrate how to mount your miter saw to the miter saw plate. There's several tools you're going to need. I've got an impact wrench, a drill, a clamp, a 1/2 inch wrench, a 1/2 inch socket, and a 5/16 metal drill bit. You will also need your shim pack with the 1/8 inch Allen wrench and your bolts and nuts that come just like this. Getting ready to mount our miter saw to our miter saw plate. You're going to need the shim pack with the 1/8 inch Allen wrench, and you need to pay attention to directions here as well. These red rails are going to adjust, and you need to make sure that these handles are facing your body, because that's going to be the front of the saw. Our very first step here is to determine the height of your saw. So you're going to put your tape down just like that and measure it. It's 3.5 inches, that's my height. Now I look at the shim pack. It says if my saw height is 3.5, my back shim is 1.25 inches, front 1.1 inches. Again, direction is important. Front is towards my body, back is this way, so the back shim, 1.25 inches, is going to be here. The front, here. Let's show that. So I measured the saw, it's 3.5. I took out the 2 shims that I'm going to need. Back shim, 1.25 inches, front 1.1 inches. They're different heights because most saws have that sliding bevel action, and they're heavier at the back. So when we put the bigger shim at the back, smaller at the front, it just lifts that up and gives us a more level work area. We're going to start right here at the back, 1.25 inches. Just slide it right under where it touches this black peg. You can just slide it down just a little bit like that. Put your finger on it. grab the 1/8 inch Allen wrench, and you're just going to tighten one bolt for now until you feel it engage. There it is. Then I move to the front, and I take my 1/8 and I stick it the exact same way, same side of the peg, push it down until it touches, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing here, tighten just one of them. Now, it's important to note that we chose these heights to keep our saws about 1/8 of an inch above our workstation table so that as we're cutting, it doesn't bind on the material. You can adjust these to your preference, but we highly recommend keeping it above. Now that I've got the table set at the heights I want, I'm going to take my Allen wrench and I'm going to go around and tighten all 4 spots. Tighten it down until you really feel it grab. That's going to keep our saw from sliding up and down those pegs. It's going to keep our workstation safe. Now that all of the screws are secured on each peg, we're going to get ready to mount our miter saw. Before doing so, take these 2 handles and just turn them down just like that. That keeps these pegs from hitting the table or workstation area, and it's a little easier to work with. For setting up your saw for the very first time, it can mount forward or backwards on this plate, and you're going to want to determine that according to your preference on your system. So I'm going to take this plate, I'm going to take it over to the cut hub that's already set up, and we're going to mount this to the pipes for the first time. We're over at our workstation now, and we're going to mount our plate to our center pipes for the first time. These 2 grooves need to hit the back pipes. In order to do so, they lock in just like that. You can slide it up and down and put your finger on here. Then you're going to clamp this down over the pipe. Now, these knobs twist in and out to adjust how it clamps to the pipe. Do not over tighten or fight it. You know, adjust it to where it just barely clicks over the top, just like that. Come to the other one, do the same. You'll hear it just barely clamp on. That's all you want. Now it can't go anywhere. When you set up your saw for the very first time, notice how I've got the saw all the way closed down and locked. That's the easiest way to carry it when it's mounted to your system as well. So just take it, slide it onto the plate, just like so, and you're ready. I'm going to open it up and I'm going to demonstrate the positioning of how you want to set it to line up with your workstation tables. All right, we've got our saw opened up as if it's ready to use, and you can slide it forward or back depending on how wide your material is. I'm a framer and I cut 2x12s and stuff all the time, and so I like the saw a little farther back to engage all of my workstation table. This level is going to describe kind of what I'm talking about. I like to line it up closer to the back of the table. It's important to note right here as well, see how I'm about 1/8 of an inch above on each side? That keeps my material falling away and not binding as I cut. You can adjust it down if you really want to. Take it off and you can shim those up or down to your preference, and I recommend doing that before setting your saw for the first time. Now that I've got it lined up where I want, I'm going to center it this way. I know it's about 2 inches on this plate because I've already checked, but I'm going to verify front to back. I've got 4 inches there. I'm going to take a clamp and clamp the back of this right there to keep it from moving. That way I can come to this other side, make sure it's at 4 inches, and that's going to keep your saw parallel with your workstation. Take my other clamp and I lock it into place. Now I'm ready to start drilling. I'm going to take my drill with the 5/16 drill bit and I'm going to come right through that hole, and each saw is different, so it's just going to depend on your saw, and I'm going to drill right through. I'm going to set one screw, I'm going to go all the way around. You can do this on our system or on a workbench, it doesn't really matter. Now I'm going to take one of these nuts and bolts and we're going to set it. You just drop it straight through now. Climb underneath. And you're going to tighten that guy down just like that. It's got a locking nut on it. Now that's where these tools come in handy. I'm going to take my finger, stick it right on top like that, and I'm going to use the impact driver to tighten it down. It's very important that you don't over tighten it because we do not want to damage the table of your saw. We got the first bolt and nut tightened on. I'm going to move straight over to the side and do that one next. You can verify your measurements. That's the safest way to keep it all square and level. Now that the two bolts are mounted on the front, the saw is secure. You can take off these quick clamps. And repeat the process on our back two holes. Our saw is mounted to our plate. We're actually ready to work if you want to, but I want to go over a few things about taking it on and off. First things first, lock up your saw so that it cannot slide. It just keeps you safe, protects your equipment. You're going to take it and close it down all the way like that. Now I'm ready to take it off. I always put one hand down and I just lift that clamp right up, lift it up high, just like that. Now to take it off, I can just slide it nice and easy. You can see how it disengages, and I can pull it just like that. Goes on the exact same way. Kind of lean into it, let it go down till you feel it hit those back pipes, close it down, hand on the saw or the plate, and again, as this closes, don't over tighten it. All you need to do is just hear that little click, and when it clicks, it's engaged. Do both. You can hear it. There it is. And you think, now it cannot come off. We're going to mount our stop to our workstation table now. We've got a hook here. We're going to just slide it over the back of the table and then just drop it into place. Now you can set this on the left-hand side of your saw or the right-hand side. I like to work to the right, so that's how I'm going to demonstrate it. These two handles are what are going to clamp it down. You hear that? That's the sound you like. Don't twist those knobs and over tighten it, because that's what these small knobs are for, is to adjust that. Now you'll see that you've got a little L bracket here. It's 10 inches long from here to here. That's going to allow me to get closer to the saw, and on the ruler we've got 23 inches, 13 inches, 24, 14, and so on, out to about 33 inches. This is a 10-inch increment. You can move it forward and backwards. If I need to close the gap between the saw and the stop, the ruler has 10-inch increments. You can slide it over. If it says 28 inches, we've got 28 and 18. You lock it down. Now I'm 18 inches away from your saw. When you need a bigger piece, simply slide that over and you can butt right into the edge and keep on cutting. When you're not using this or when you're storing it, you want to put it back into its original position. Just simply pop the pin and you can set it just like that, or if you're on the other side of the table, you can set it just like that, okay? I do it there and I just reinsert that pin. That's good to go. Now we need to center our stop with our saw. The easiest way I've found to do that is to just take a scrap piece of lumber that's somewhere around 2 feet. You got to measure it exact. That is right on 25 inches. So I'm going to take my stop, slide it to 25 inches, and I'm going to look through the window. It's very important that you look through the window. That is the measurement you're going to use. Lock that down like so. Place your block in it till it's right where you want it. So we disengage these clamps, and just like that, you lift them up. We're going to slide it this way. And so you just take your whole saw and slide it till it hits. Now, if you're a framer like us, we just hit the bulk of the blade. If you're a finished guy, hit the teeth to get that right on, and lock it back down. Now we've got it zeroed out. Take out your material. You can open up your saw. You're ready to work, measuring on the right-hand side. If you like to work to the left-hand side, you need to take the stop, flip over the end, and do the process over. Always work to one side of the table, whichever one works best for you. We got our whole Carpenter system set up. For those of you who purchased a Contractor or a Pro, there's a few more steps. For that, we're going to move over to the table and we'll start that up. All right, we're back at the table now, and we're going to go over the parts that come in the Contractor or the Pro system. We've got our side table support brackets. Underneath, we have our plate that mounts the table saw itself, the hardware that's going to attach that, and then these two little bolts are going to attach to the main workstation table later on, and it's going to attach with this stuff. We've got a cross brace for stability, and then 2 legs that you're going to see shortly. Tools for this setup, obviously we need our table saw. We got a couple clamps, a 7/16 wrench and socket, a pencil, a 1/4 inch drill bit, and a 5/32 Allen wrench. We've got an impact, or a drill and an impact wrench right here. I've got paint for our stencil that comes, our logo, and you can see underneath it we've got 2 2x12s that you're going to have to purchase, and they're for the side table extensions that you'll see later on. All right, now we're going to take our plate and mount it to our table saw. We've got the components we need, our 1/4 inch nuts and bolts, and the tools I discussed earlier. I'm going to just stick this to the side. It's important that we take off our fins, and I already took the blade all the way down. That allows me to turn my saw upside down. It's going to be the very easiest way to mount our system. Now, saw's upside down. Every saw is going to be different, so you'll just adjust according to your saw. I just set it down. For this particular saw, I just line up the feet with the edge, just like that. And then I step back and I look at it about where center is. It's really quite simple. It's ready to go. Now we just have to secure it. Take your clamps. Just like before, you're going to clamp it on one side, and you go to the other side and clamp it. Now I'm ready to start drilling. So I turned the saw a little bit so you can see how this goes together. We're going to take these 1/4 inch bolts, And I'm going to stick them about an inch away, and they're actually going to go through this part of your saw. So you're just going to take your 1/4 inch drill bit, and you have to line up straight down through and then start drilling. Got through the plate. See how it's engaging in the bar of your saw? You want to make sure that's centered or close to center before you start drilling through. I'm good to go. Got it? Go ahead and drop this 1/4 inch bolt straight on through. Tying it down. We take our 7/16 wrench, 7/16 socket, and we just tighten it down nice and light. Don't over tighten, just get it nice and snug. So we've got our first one clamped down nice and secure. I'm going to move to the other corner and do the same thing. And I'm going to go here, and then I can take both clamps off because you've got 2 points, and I'll stick the 4 bolts in and you'll be ready to roll. Table saw plate is mounted. Now we need to be able to attach it to our system. You're going to need your cross brace. You're going to have a right and a left leg. Notice how they go different directions. It'll be pretty self-explanatory when we get over there. All right, we've got our table saw set up over here, and we've got to attach it to our existing legs. We've got a mounting nut and bolt that we're going to slide right into this slot, and it's going to mount our table saw leg to this leg. First, we need to measure the height of our saw from the table or the deck. It's 13 inches. Then we're going to come down the leg just like so, and we're going to make a mark at 1 3/4 inches farther down. Now we're going to attach our mounting bolt, slide it through, and just tighten that lock nut on by hand at first. I've got a 7/16 inch wrench. Just clamp it back there, and that's going to hold it in place so I can slide it up and down the leg. Keep it on that mark. 5/32 Allen wrench, and I just kind of make it grab into that. It's going to kind of groove out the leg, but that's perfect. It's just going to keep it nice and tight. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Now we're going to attach our legs to the workstation table leg. You've got a right and a left. It opens up by pushing this button, and you just slide it right over the top, and it just goes right down on top of that mounting nut. Okay, you're going to do the same thing to the other side. Push that button in, it just slides out, and goes on just like that. You can see it's a little bit out of level. Don't worry about that right now. We're going to attach our stabilizing bracket. Loosen these knobs real quick. Loosen them up. Just slide it right on, tighten them back down. You kind of have to push them. That's all right. Push them, tighten it, push it, and tighten it. Now it's in place. We're going to get it up just a little bit by loosening these, and it just kind of comes up just a bit. Comes up just a bit. Now, this is all set so that it keeps our table above the edge so our material doesn't butt into that. you'll see it right here. Got my table saw, and you can see I've got a groove right there. Look close, we've got a groove here. You just slide it, goes right in. Now as I look across the edge here, this is 1/4 to 3/8 higher than your workstation table, so that you have a good fall with your material and you're not butting into anything there. Okay, we have our table saw at the end, and remember, you can take that and do it on the other end. It's all your preference. The only thing we have left for our contractor is our side platforms. This is going to go here and here in line with our table saw. We'll go to the table to show you that. All right, we're over here getting ready to attach our brackets for our side platforms. You're going to need the 4 brackets. Remember these screws that we took out as we were unpackaging? You can use them for that. A T20 bit, your impact wrench, our nice logo, and a can of paint. First thing we're going to focus on is your side platforms. You're going to need some lumber and our stencil here. Now, we use a 2x12. You can use 2 pieces of plywood. You can use 2x6, 2x10. It's all up to you. 2x12 is a good dimension. It gives us the width for a nice table, and the 1.5 inches is how much it drops below our bracket, so that's important to keep it at 1.5 inches. I cut my material at roughly 70 inches because that is the length of your table. So it can be longer, it's all up to you, or it can be shorter depending on what kind of workstation you want. Okay, I've got my stencil. I made a center line on the board. I center it up with the center of our Cuthub logo, and I'm just going to hold it in place. I take my spray paint, I hold it lightly on one corner, and just lightly go across. You don't want to go real heavy. Take it off. Ta-da! Looks awesome once you put it on your whole system. I just finished painting. I've done it to both of them, and I flip them both over just like that. So now they're upside down, and we're going to mount our platform brackets. You've got your impact wrench, T20 bit, and all of the screws we had from unpackaging. So we're just going to mount one. I stick it, it really doesn't matter a whole bunch where you stick it in and out. You just stick it flush with one end. You're just going to screw right down through the hole. And you don't want it too tight, because now I can stick a square on it or just eyeball it, and then I'm going to stick 2 more in. Got both of the brackets mounted. You can slide it nice and good. Now we're going to attach the other 2 to the other 2x12. It's important as you do this not to line them up perfect. Otherwise they're going to butt into each other on the pipes. So I'm going to just take it in a couple inches off center, do the exact same thing to the other, so that they never interfere with each other when you've got them rolling. Okay, we've got our brackets on for our side platforms. Kind of hold it, and you've got to slide it right between the tabletop and the pipe, and it grabs on, sets. There we go. First one's on. We'll go around to the other side and put it on. All right, we've got both of our side platforms up, which is awesome as a workspace. Now we have a 3-foot table, and you can make it wider by taking the 2x12 or other lumber out, or narrower by pulling it in. So it's got a lot of versatility there. It's really strong. You can nail on it, cut, jigsaw, all of that. But most important is now we have a really good outfeed table when we're cutting sheeting or anything like that. We've got an entire catch, so no more tipping on our materials as we cut through. Okay, we have our contractor system all the way set up. Our miter saw is attached to the pipes. We've got our stop over here. It's important to note the stop needs to be over here because that's where we centered it, and it no longer works on that side because of our platforms. So we've got our two platforms that work as a work table area and our outfeed table for our table saw, our legs, our table saw system's all ready to go. Plug it in, head to work. You're going to love it. For those of you who purchase a professional system, you're going to get a third table with these cam lever locks. I'll explain that a little bit later. Another two connector pipes, two platform brackets, and another set of table saw mounting bolts and nuts. Also, we've got a 2x12 that I'm showing that you're going to have to get for your third platform. We're going to set it up, and here we go. Okay, we got our professional table set up. Remember, it's got our black cam lever locks. I already mounted our table saw mounting nuts on, and I put in the center pipes. You've seen how that's done already. You can see I can store it by engaging it in that button right there. Take it out. That's how I store it once I put it back in my trailer. Now, in order to connect everything together, we're going to need to get rid of our table saw. Just pull it off. Set it right there. Now we can disengage the whole table saw leg setup backwards, or I can just take it, pull it up like that. We've got the whole system, and you can just set it over here on the side for now. So we moved the camera a little bit so you can see how this is going to connect. I've got one a little farther out than the other, kind of the same as the last time. And you can put them really close so they can slide in. Keep that level so it's going to just engage with your hole. Push it in, and you'll feel it click into place. We've got our third workstation table set up and connected to our contractor system. You can see I can just slide it in and out, slide it all the way out, and it's going to engage right there. Now I have another area to mount a saw. You can push both fingers in like I just did, and it's going to engage in this last hole just like that. Now that is the same distance as that over there. You can mount a third saw here. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Or you can put it close together, take both fingers, push both buttons at the same time. It's going to engage, push, and I can slide it as close as I want. You can use these cam lever locks, loosen them up, and then you can turn them about one turn, and then just crank it down. Crank that guy down like that, and now I can't move it at all. I can take the whole system. All right, we've got our professional system all the way set up. Stop, zeroed out with our saw, our platforms. I moved one down to create our table saw outfeed area, and then I moved the table saw down to the end so I can run long materials. Remember, with our Pro table, this ruler is not consecutive with the other ruler. It's its own separate thing, so be aware of that as you're using it. I'll explain a little bit more later on. The great thing about this system is I can take this table, turn it at a 90-degree angle. I can move it to the other end, depending on the hand. It's just fantastic. You can move these platforms to wherever you need to work. So that's it. That's our whole system. I hope you love it as much as we do.